Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing something different to all the other content on this channel. Instead of drawing and going through my process as I usually do, I'm going to be sharing some interesting character builds for Dungeons and Dragons while drawing the character in the background. So whether you enjoy Dungeons and Dragons or you like the art that's on show, I think you'll still enjoy this video. For this character build, the idea is an intimidating brawler. This character is inspired by the song Hell's Coming With Me, so I would flavour this character as some sort of holy avenger, or even a character that rejects the gods. But however the character fits into this world, the build itself will need a few things for it to work well in this design brief. The first aim is that the character has to be able to effectively use unarmed attacks. They must be a brawler, the sort of character who's going to absolutely destroy in a bar fight. The second is that they have to have an intimidating presence, whether that be high intimidation score or through actual fears. The people of your D&D world are going to fear this character. The third and final characteristic these builds need is for the character to either be a tank or an off-tank, because that makes sense for a character who fights in melee with their fists. They're going to need to be able to take some shots back from anyone brave enough to stand against them. Before I get onto the 4 builds that I came up with, and a bonus idea near the end, I wanted to quickly list a few ways that I thought for buffing unarmed combat. Let me know in the comments about any that you think that I've missed. Monks are probably the premier unarmed combat users, with many of their abilities revolving around unarmed strikes, and their unarmed strike damage scaling as they level up. Then there's the unarmed fighting style, available through being a fighter or the fighting initiate feat. Then I thought of Barbarian Rage, which increases your damage and allows you to attack at advantage using reckless attack. The final thing I thought of was actually adding dice to the damage of your weapon attacks, which unarmed strikes count as. You can do this through spells like Hunter's Mark, which adds a d6 to all your weapon attacks, or you could do it through features such as a Paladin's Divine Smite. The first couple of builds I'm going to go through are both single class builds from level 1 to level 20, and they turn up as a core for the multi-class builds later in the video. So I'll cover the specific abilities you'll want to take and the general stat spread you'll want for each of those builds first, along with some suggestions for ideal races. The first of which is the Battlemaster Fighter. Fighters are obviously able to handle themselves in melee, and at first level you can choose the unarmed fighting style, meaning that your unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier on a hit. If you aren't wielding any weapons or a shield when you make the attack roll, the d6 becomes a d8. Additionally, at the start of each of your turns, you can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to one creature grappled by you. This takes care of being able to punch well, and throws in an additional damage if you want to grapple your targets, something I'll cover later. It also doesn't require any feats or multi-classing to gain. The next feature you want to pick up are the Battlemaster maneuvers. For this build, the ones that you want to grab first are Frighten, allowing you to force a wisdom save on a creature or they're frightened for you for a turn, and Commanding Presence. This allows you to add your superiority dice to intimidation or persuasion checks. 2 other maneuvers that I've found useful for this character are Grappling Strike and Taunt. The first allowing you to grapple as a bonus action when you hit a creature with an attack, so you don't have to waste your action attempting to grapple, and you get that nice bonus of damage. And the second forcing a creature to have disadvantage on attacks against targets other than yourself on a failed save. Speaking of saves, the Battlemaster DC is calculated using your character's strength or dexterity, meaning that an exceptionally high charisma isn't necessary for frightening your targets. In terms of the stats you'll want to focus on, you'll definitely want to max out your strength first to make sure that your punching is just as effective as possible. But then you'll want to focus on either charisma or constitution, depending on what focus you want to take with this character. Charisma is better for out of combat social encounters, but Constitution allows you to be in the fight longer. Keep in mind that your charisma isn't tied to your ability to fear people too heavily. This spread of stats works well for all the remaining builds, so I won't cover them again unless there are any outliers. For races, I would recommend taking Human Variant or Mountain Dwarf. Human Variant allows you to put a +1 into most likely strength and charisma, but also allows you to choose a feat at level 1. I would recommend taking either Tough to improve your HP, or Skill Expert to gain expertise in Intimidation. This can lead to some extremely high Intimidation rolls later in the game. At 18th level, with your largest superiority die of a d12 and having a 20 in Charisma, you're able to roll a 49 in Intimidation, which is crazy. All you need is a natural 20 and rolling a 12 on your superiority dice. Then expertise in Intimidation adds 17 to your roll. This means that even without some awesome luck, you're still going to be insanely scary. As for Mountain Dwarf, this improves both your Constitution and Strength by 2, as well as a handy resistance to poisons. However, one of the best reasons to go Dwarf in this build is gaining access to the feat Dwarven Fortitude, allowing you to use a hit dice when taking the dodge action, which allows you to have more sustain on top of your second wind, and improves the already great tanking tool that is the dodge action, which combos incredibly with your taunt battle maneuver. By taunting during your attack and then using your dodge action the following turn, you can cause the target to have disadvantage against attacks while you heal yourself. As cool as that combo is, taking this feat does mean that you have to sacrifice a stat increase, so do bear that in mind. These two races also work very well for all the builds in this video, so I'll only cover any races on top of these that would specifically work for each build. In summary, this build is very strong, being one of the best classes and subclasses in the game. High damage and durability, as well as having the core of the character idea in effect by level 3, means that you don't have to spend most of the game waiting for the features you need to really fulfill the character fantasy that you want to play. And all of the features you use to fulfill the characters scales as you level, so you never feel behind. However, this build's access to fears is limited to single target and in combat, only lasting for one turn, or you have to rely on your high intimidation score. Before I move on to the next build, I hope you're enjoying this different style of video. Please let me know your thoughts on it and any ideas you have for this character concept in the comments. That's any builds that you would make with this design. Also be sure to leave any suggestions for other character concepts you want me to cover in the comments as well. The second build is a Conquest Paladin, the standout feature being its channel divinity, allowing you to force each creature within 30 feet to make a wisdom saving throw or become frightened of you for a minute. The access to the spells Command, Compelled Duel, Hold Person and Fear are also other ways of obtaining this strong presence for the character. Another strong ability the Paladin gains is its 7th level ability, allowing you to cause any creature within 10 feet of you that's frightened to reduce its speed to 0 and take psychic damage equal to your charisma modifier each round. This effect also extends to 30 feet at 18th level, which is an incredible lockdown tool, allowing for huge battlefield control, especially at 18th level if you get that far. This build does require a feat to gain access to unarmed fighting style, however you do gain access to a fighting style of your own. A good choice being blind fighting, meaning that you have 10 feet of blind sight, which can be really useful. But I can also imagine an awesome scene where it's nighttime or another creature casts darkness, but your character is walking around slaying everyone in the darkness while your enemies can't see a thing. This character build leans heavily into the more supernatural powers of intimidation, so I think that an interesting race for this build specifically would be an Aasimar, especially Fallen or Scourge due to the stats that they give. You would also want to focus on Charisma instead of Constitution for this build, as the benefits to spellcasting and the Aura Protection, where allies gain your Charisma mod to all saves, which far outweigh the need for a higher HP in my opinion. With the use of Divine Smite and its damaging spells, this character has access to high burst damage numbers, and at higher levels it gains 5th level spells like Geas, which fits well with this character because you basically dominate the mind of a creature and forcefully control it, meaning that this build can provide strong utility, especially in the fearing department. Now I'm going to move on to the multi-classing options that I've come up with, the first being a Barbarian Fighter multi-class. This build uses the 3-level core of pure Battlemaster, however it stacks the Barbarian's strengths on top of the already strong base. While your battle maneuvers won't be as effective or numerous, your martial prowess and ability to tank will be much better, especially using the standout barbarian ability, Rage, which is also quite flavourful with this build, as most of the time barbarians in their primal rage are going to be quite intimidating. However, usually barbarians don't have the high charisma or abilities to back this up, but in this build that changes. The combination of using strength for our save DC and focusing on charisma allows for the best combination of raw strength and being the epitome of fear. As for the barbarian subclasses, Zealot is probably your best bet thematically. Being linked to a god fits the inspiration of this build so well, especially as you can choose to do either radiant or necrotic damage, so your relationship to the gods, either positive or negative, can be reflected in your attacks. Apart from that, any subclass would fit well. It's really dependent on the role you want to fill for your party other than being a scary meat sack of hit points. Goliath as a race for this character works incredibly well to buff your tanking ability, as they can absorb an insane amount of damage with the combination of rage resistances and the Goliath stone endurance. Additionally, you could be an Earth Genasi, allowing you to have resistance outside of your rage from bludgeoning, piercing and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks, from the casting of Blade Ward as a cantrip as a bonus action. For this build you can play with optimizing the levels of Fighter vs Barbarian. The only requirement is those 3 levels of Fighter to get the build rolling, and then it's up to you. Progression wise, you might want to start as Fighter to get unarmed fighting, but then it might be worth 5 levels of Barbarian straight away to get multi-attack at 6th level instead of 8th level if you committed to all 3 Fighter levels. Alternatively, you could continue Fighter for multi-attack at level 5. It all depends on what features you want first, and multi-attack does vastly improve your damage output. But obviously if you're not starting at level 1, and you're either doing a one-shot or you're starting at higher levels, this lag time isn't going to feel as bad, or it's not going to be existent in the case of a one-shot. The second multi-class I'm going to cover is essentially a mix of the first 2, being a Conquest Paladin and a Battlemaster Fighter. I'll only briefly cover this as I've already covered both separately. However, the reason this mix works so well is because the fighter levels that you end up taking only work to enhance the Paladin's abilities. The Battlemaster Fear working with the Paladin Lockdown, and the access to both unarmed fighting and the blind fighting style allows you to be this fearsome manifestation of fear using only their fists. I would recommend 15, 16 or 17 levels of Paladin at the start of a fighter. This gives access to the higher features of Paladin, especially the spellcasting. However, for a more martial character, a fighter main class with the support from Paladin, or a more equal of both, I'm thinking of 11 levels fighter to get those 3 attacks instead of just the 2, can work in combat with the more attacks, like I just said, and higher stats as you get more opportunities to boost your stats as a fighter. In my opinion, the coolest of these characters would have to be the Goliath Barbarian Fighter. This is because playing a character that's seemingly impervious to physical damage while their fists glow with divine energy and revenge just sounds so awesome to me. The mechanically strongest, however, and closest to my original idea is likely the Paladin Fighter, as this allows you to capture being the epitome of an intimidating brawler born from listening to Hell's Coming With Me, and it enables you to efficiently choose the features you want without sacrificing much in the way of progression or late game power. The only real thing I can think of that you lose is the access to the 20th level Paladin ability, which is pretty insane. I'll put it up on the screen now for you guys to read. Now for the bonus idea that I promised earlier. A combination of Barbarian and Paladin, as Zealot and Conquest would work so flavourly together. However, because Rage doesn't allow the casting of spells, this limits the combination's ability to use fears in combat. But this could be somewhat overcome by being an Earth Genasi, and only going into a full rage when absolutely necessary, flavouring it as your character losing control from the bloodlust, instead of rage just being that thing that you do in every combat that makes you stronger. I think that this would works so well to improve the storytelling of a character's rage, as it would truly be them losing control instead of just something they can do and control perfectly fine. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts on it and any ideas you have for this character concept in the comments. Also be sure to leave any suggestions for your character concepts that you want me to cover in the comments as well. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.